Hello, my name is Selena.
And my name's Theoni, and you are listening to Piping Hot.
Welcome back to part 2 of us discussing Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Like normal, we aren't going to do any pop culture or anything like that because we're recording this right after part 1, so we're just going to jump right in.
Jump right in with chapter 14. I'm really excited because, like you said on the end of last week's episode, the second half of the book really picks up.
Yeah.
Chapter 14 begins with Bee waking up in Levi's hotel room because he carried her there after her fainting spell. Bee gets him to stay with her as she relaxes, but this leads to Bee opening up to Levi fully about what happened with Tim and Annie. After Levi finds out that Bee is in fact not married, he takes Bee straight to the gym to start training for the 5K. Before they know it, they're at a bar, which leads to Levi opening up more about his family and a 5-minute long venting session about how he hates space. Bee just happens to like this confession, which leads to a movie night viewing The Empire Strikes Back. The chapter ends with Levi telling Bee to grab his hand if she starts to feel worried about her ex. I love this chapter so much.
Again, like their quiet moments are the best.
Yes, no, they truly are. And I just love the minute he finds out that she's not married, he's like, okay, time to get this show on the road. Like, obviously, I'm not going to jump in right away, but he's like, I can finally at least be more free about these little moments, you know? Like, I don't have to worry about it.
No.
So that's part of what I love about this chapter. Like, I really felt like the shift with that.
Yeah.
Page 183, I wrote, why is him pushing the hair from her face so cute? Like when she was just like waking up and he just pushed God, like that's so cute.
It's the little things, I swear, really.
Mm-hmm. No, truly it is. And then page 184, when he said to her, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than taking care of her. Like, that's so cute.
I know.
Like, and that's after she asked him to stay, which knowing Bee is probably a really hard thing for her to do. And so the fact that she did that and then he responds so sweetly was so precious.
Oh my God. I can't. I literally can't.
And then I have a note. This is in all caps. It says, okay, the way she opens up to him and just he comforts her and touches her gently behind the neck and gets so pissed about Tim. Like, there is nothing more than I love than a man getting pissed for his girl and like not being able to, like, it's just like when Adam went off at Tom in the restaurant during the love hypothesis. It's like,
yes.
Like they literally cannot stand that someone makes them feel anything less than what they are.
I know.
Okay, and then so these two notes one after another are so funny because at first I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like, he's taking her somewhere and she can't know where it is. Like, this is right after he found out that she's not married. Like, he's gonna take her on a frickin' date. And then all of a sudden they're at the gym and I was like, come on. Like, it fit them very well. But I was also irritated because I was like, come on, go on a date, like something, please.
But it also showed me that, like, Levi was very respectful because she just revealed something so traumatizing that it was so nice that he gave her space and not to, like, rush in and be like, oh, this is my chance or blah, 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 you know? Like, he's very respectful that way, which makes me love him even more.
Man, you respect me? That's hot.
The bare minimum.
Another note I had is on pages 191 and 192. This is when they're at the bar. And I love that she keeps repeating, alcohol. Like, it's just so funny to me. And I thought the use of that device was so funny because, like, she knew she was feeling tipsy. Girl knew she was feeling some type of way. But she couldn't stop herself from just doing the thing she was doing.
Her internal monologue was so funny during that scene because I was like, yeah, she is drinking alcohol. She's feeling all these things. It was just so funny.
It's hilarious. Okay, I don't really know what I meant, but this is a cute part. Just like before Levi opens up about wanting to be an astronaut or like, you know, that whole situation, he was like, I could tell you a story. And she's like, ooh, a story. And he's like, but you'd have to keep it a secret because it's embarrassing. And he says, a little. I don't know why, but that little interaction was just so cute because you know in that moment that he is just so endeared by her and knows that she's feeling a little tipsy and just wants to have like a little like flirtiness with her. And I don't know. I just love stuff like that.
It's super adorable that the way that their relationship is developing, but the way that like Levi is able to open up to her as well. Like it's the cutest thing in the world. Like my body cannot handle it.
No, truly though. And then to go off of that on page 194, this is when she has the realization that she's like, oh, I like him. And it's because he literally vents about how space sucks. And he just goes on a rant, which I feel like is the first time we've really seen Levi just like go off a little bit, you know?
Yes.
And so I think that, I don't know, I just love that that was the moment where she's like, oh, I like him. Yes! Like, it's just so cute.
It's adorable. It's really adorable. And I think that's another big factor that differentiates Levi between Adam, because I feel like when Levi is on, like he will go and he will just keep going and going and ranting and venting and
which I love so much. And then the chapter pretty much ends on page 197 when he says, if you feel like that, just take my hand. I just thought that was so sweet. He was like, because he knows that B probably doesn't want to talk about it. B doesn't want to make a big deal out of it, but he's just like, if you need to know that someone has your back, just take my hand. Like, I got you.
Literally, Theoni, I can't handle it. Like,
I know.
It makes me sick to my stomach in a good way when I read these things, because I'm like, he is just so nice and just wants the best for her, which she's never had.
I know.
Right?
And I just love that it's like the flip, or like the switch has finally switched, like, and he is fully being himself.
I know. Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. Next chapter.
Chapter 15. Here is the synopsis. B and Levi realize that MegTech is stuck where they're stuck with the helmet as well, and now it's a race to see who can finish it first. They run into their old PhD advisor, Sam, who invites them to her retirement brunch. B and Levi face their old classmates, including Tim and Annie. The chapter ends with B reconciling with Annie in the bathroom. So when they ran into their old advisor, Sam, I was like, oh my, of course. Like, are you kidding me? I was like, this is just perfect, isn't it? Like, literally. I was just, at the same time, I was like, they don't have time. They can just leave. Like, let's just go, right? And I wanted to avoid Tim and Annie as well, because again, the first run-in that we had with B had fainted, and I was like, a brunch, she's gonna die. Like,
literally,
she's
going to
die.
Faint. Yeah.
But then when Sam admitted that she was going to retire, and this was technically her like retirement brunch, I was like, well, damn it, there's no way out of this. Which again goes back to the point that Ali Hazelwood did such a good job with stakes this time around. Because if it wasn't for that, I would have been just like, leave. Yeah, who cares?
Don't go. Yeah,
exactly.
whatever.
You don't owe anyone anything. But now that she's retiring and all this stuff, I was like, ah, shit. Also, because I knew that Tim and Annie were going to be there, I was like, I'm ready. I was buckling in for this ride because something was going to happen, you know? Random, but I also think it's funny that Sam began to say something about Levi and B finally getting together, which is the first time we see that Levi must have told Sam something in grad school when they were supposed to be working on that project together. So we're getting these like little pieces now, and I'm like, ooh, I want the full image. Like, we're almost there. And then I found the part that I was looking for.
Okay.
At the bottom of page 202, she says, okay, daddy. And
I have a voice memo about that.
I could not. I had to put the book down and I had to laugh and take deep breaths. And I was like, what did I just read? What the heck?
I was like, did she actually just say, okay, daddy?
Yeah. I was like, I still can't believe it.
I still can't believe it either. I wanted to crawl under a table.
Me too. Okay, play your audio message.
Page 202. There is no freaking way that she just called him daddy by accident. I am going to evaporate into the air. Like, I don't... Oh, my Lord.
So, yes, I had a very strong reaction to that as well.
Oh, yeah, we know how you feel about nicknames, Theoni.
God, literally.
But the thing is that, like, I feel like Levi really liked that, and I want his perspective. What went through his body when he heard V call him daddy? I was like, you know what? I hate it, but I know Levi loves it.
No,
so
it would straight up ruin my image of Levi if he enjoyed being called daddy.
Really? Really?
Because that's freaking gross.
What?
No.
Really?
Levi's a bro. He does not need someone to call him daddy.
Okay, I guess, but I feel like that's very much him. I don't know. I feel like if you told me that like Adam Carlson was the daddy and like he liked being called that, I've been like, no, that's not Adam.
Okay, I mean, I guess in that sense it fits Levi more, but that doesn't mean it has to be the truth. Like, that would actually really bother me, I think.
Oh my god.
Like, I can't.
Okay.
It's just like
it's
Brennan
valid.
From It Happened One Summer.
No,
the
stop
fact
it. Don't you dare say.
He likes being called Captain. Like, no.
Okay, with Captain I could get on. Because
No. You could get on. No. Selena. Okay.
I could hop on the Captain train, okay? Okay, remember we had a whole spiel about that, okay? I'm not saying that I'm on the daddy train with Levi, okay? I am just saying he is the type of character that I think would like it.
I reject that analysis.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Okay. Whew, okay. Back to the chapter.
Yes.
I love the way that Bea describes the scene of sitting down with all of her old classmates. It made me feel like I was there with her, and the tension was just so good. Like, the way that Ali Hazelwood wrote it was so good. So I laughed out loud at the bottom of page 203, and this is what it says. It elevates this brunch above your run-of-the-mill trash fire, and it has to do with your companion. He wasn't exactly a fan of yours the last time you two hung out with these people, and seeing you arrive with him is making their heads explode. They cannot compute. The show was already going to be good, but now it's fucking Hamilton, baby. I died because that shit was so funny, and I was like, Bea would be the only person to describe it like that.
Literally. Truly.
It was just so perfect.
Her voice was so spot on throughout the book. So.
Yes. I loved it so much.
Me too.
You had said this before as well when Levi was talking with Bea back in the hotel room and she finally revealed like all that happened with Tim. When Levi went to go hug Tim and whispered something in his ear, I was like, no, you have to tell me. You can't just do that and not tell me. I was dying to know because Tim looked like he was about to shit his pants.
Literally, I love that moment so much. I was like, you freaking go, Levi.
Yes!
Like, the protective side of him came out, and I was like, yes.
Yes. I loved it.
Me too.
Then they're, sitting there eating brunch or whatever. Then fucking Mike says something dumb at the table. And Levi puts his arm over Bea's chair and says that everything is great. Like, what a power move. The balls
Literally.
that Levi has is like, he's not afraid at all.
Not at all.
Except when it comes to his feelings, but that's a different thing. But
yeah.
Then Bea has a moment with Annie in the bathroom. To be honest, this conversation didn't make me like Annie any better. It only solidified the fact that she was never a true friend after all.
Yeah. And
right? Like,
I agree.
Her like jealousy and that Bea was the best at everything and da and like she just wanted to be like Bea, and I was like, no, you're just a shitty friend.
No, literally such a shitty friend.
Yeah.
And it didn't make me feel bad for her. It didn't make me feel anything. And like,
exactly.
to some degree, I understand why B decided to like hear her out and, you know, because I think sometimes it's better for you. You're not doing it for the other person, but it's so you can let go of something or move on from it, you know? But I really hated Annie, and the reasoning was so stupid.
Yes.
But I think we are supposed to not like her, you know?
Yep, which I'm fine with. I think the only thing that made me feel in that scene was B's loss of friendship, because she's lost so much in her life. So I feel like this is the first time she's been able to reconcile with that. She hasn't been able to reconcile with her parents' death or whatever. I think later on it goes to show that she is really slow at processing things, and that when they told her that her parents had died, it took her a lot longer to process that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in this moment, this is her first time that she's been able to make a full circle back to talk with someone who had done her wrong or had left her or whatever. So in a way, I thought that was like really, really nice for B and something that she needed.
Sure.
The last thing that I just want to mention is that I love that Levi was waiting outside the bathroom for her and just making sure that, like, she didn't need him and, like, she didn't want to leave. And, like, I was like, why is he so considerate? Like,
Literally.
it literally hurts me. Like,
He loves her so much. Like, he just wants to make sure she's okay at all times. Like,
So then we can dive into chapter 16. So here is my synopsis. Driving back to Houston, B asks what Levi whispered to Tim. Levi admits that he had feelings for B since meeting her in grad school, and that Tim lied to him about making her uncomfortable. They get interrupted when Boris calls about Kaylee and Roe, who were found making out on B's desk. On her way back home, B gets an idea on how to solve their roadblock with the helmet. She hugs Levi in excitement, but it quickly turns into something steamier than they both expected. They have their first kiss, but it's quickly over when Levi gets a phone call and has to leave. I just want to point out that every single time they got interrupted, I was ready to pull out my hair.
Yeah.
Because it was ridiculous.
No, I was so over it.
Me too.
At that point. I was like, do something, please.
I was like, just ignore. Just
Literally,
ignore it.
just
please.
ignore it.
For once, just ignore. I was so pissed.
No, same.
Anyways, on page 212, the visceral reaction I had when B said, quote, "You might be the only person in lab that he didn't cheat on me with." And Levi's fingers gripped the steering wheel. I went feral. I was like, this man is so protective over B. I was like, oh my God.
Dude, I know. Like, it's those little descriptions, right? That happen every time. When it's like, again, the protectiveness, you're right. That's what makes me feral.
Yeah.
Like, if I read
Really?
that, I'm like, I melt. I
Yes!
literally melt. See, I did it. The literally thing. Oh my God. See, now it's in my head that I do that. Like, what I sound like an idiot. Okay, sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Then, as they're driving home, you know, they have a lot of conversations. And so the first thing that Levi admits to B is that Tim had lied to him about B knowing that he was into her in grad school. And Tim had told Levi to back off because he was making B uncomfortable, which makes Tim a lying piece of shit. And then finally, sorry. I just am so over his, like, he's just so annoying. Like, please leave. Exit the scene.
The way you said, that makes Tim a piece of shit.
Oh
my God, that made me laugh so hard. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Martha.
Then finally, the moment we've all been waiting for, Levi admits that he has had feelings for B since grad school. And it was so painful to wait for this moment, but it finally happened. And it's so funny the way that it happens on page 214. They have like this moment of realization, and all that B says is like, oh, you know? And then Levi nods in agreement. And B doesn't even get a chance to speak, and Levi is already agreeing with her. And he says, quote, "Whatever you're imagining, from the tamest to the most inappropriate thoughts, That's probably where my mind was at. Sir! Sir! I could not handle it.
I literally could not handle it.
I was
like, shut up.
again, we already knew that Schmack had this, like, right, his whole page novel length of, like, what he wants to do. But when Levi says it to B, it's like it's a different thing, you know?
It is. That made me feel things. That
Yes.
made me feel things.
No. And then Levi also admits that the dress she wore that one time to lab, he actually loved it so much. Which I was
Which
like,
I knew.
Exactly. I was like,
it.
we knew. We knew it.
I have a voice memo for page 216.
Okay, number 1, I freaking called it. Number 2, the way that I actually cackled out loud when they were called back to the office because Lucio and Kaylee were caught having sex in their office and it was on camera. Oh my god, that's the funniest thing I've ever read. And Lucio's so proud about it. Oh my lord.
Sorry, I guess I skipped ahead, but there's that.
You're fine, because I was just gonna skim that
Okay.
little area, but no, I agree. I thought, again, interruptions, because just as Levi was gonna tell B why he was telling all of this to her now, they get a phone call, which I was okay with, because in a sense I was like, oh my gosh, it's like about Kaylee and Ro, and you know, their relationship has been building up, but I'm like, I want to know why Levi is telling B.
Right?
Like, please.
No, enough waiting. Let me know.
Yeah. And then all I want to call out about that section is that Guy was the one who caught them making out. And so that's just another thing that I want to mention, because it'll come back later in the book. So then on their way home, B gets an idea on how to solve, you know, their helmet problem that they've been having. And I laughed out loud when she like jumped out of the truck, ran upstairs to her apartment, and was like starting to write on her like little pad for an idea or whatever. And Levi asks to see it, and she hands it over, and it's all in German. And he's like, I don't read German. And like,
I thought that was so funny.
it was hilarious.
Literally hilarious.
And then the moment we've all been waiting for. They hug each other, but they don't hug each other the way that normal coworkers would hug each other, right? They hug each other in the way where B literally jumps into his arm so that he's holding her up by her thighs, not her ass yet, but her thighs, okay? And I was like, I just knew the second that was described, I was like, excuse me, you're telling me this is how they're hugging? Okay.
Yeah.
So then they're like spinning around, right? Like they're celebrating. And then B's like, aren't you gonna kiss me? And Levi says no, which I was confused about. And I was like, okay, Levi, whatever. You just spilled your heart out to her in the truck, but whatever. He then admits that it's not the fact that B went too far asking for a kiss. It's that Levi is afraid she won't go far enough. And I was like, oh, no way!
My stomach hurts thinking about that because it's so spicy.
Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, this man is so committed to her that he just wants literally every single part of her, that he's afraid that she won't even go far enough. And I was like, fuck. Levi is so invested. He is already so invested, and they haven't even defined the relationship, you know? But then that also breaks my heart knowing what happens later in the book, but we'll get there. So they finally kiss, and they have this like a hot makeout session that's literally to die for. And like, he's like, this quote on page 223 made me put my book down and take deep breaths in a good way, okay? It says, quote, sorry, his large palm comes up, wraps around my neck, angles my head sharply, just so. What? How is that the most attractive thing ever? Right?
I can't actually. Is my man's into choking?
You know what? It's Levi, so. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh my god.
But
that was hot.
Right. I had to read it a couple times because I was like, nuh-uh. He did not just do that. He did not just do that. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then on 223 as well and 224, that's the point where Levi pushes her up against the wall and she pushes back, which Mac had mentioned via Twitter. And at this point, it's like poetry, but like B doesn't know it. And I was just, oh my God.
If you had heard me reading chapter 16, you would be laughing so hard. I literally, when the phone started ringing, I literally yelled out, no way. Like, I was so pissed. That was such a steamy kiss. And you know what? At this point, we are like 3/4 of the way through this book. I need some more. I need some more. That is so spicy. Dude. And she's all like, no one can be that big. And I'm like, well, he is.
Oh my God, that's so hilarious. Because I totally forgot about that part, because when they're up against the wall, their bodies are now pressed against each other. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, right, we've talked about being interrupted now, and I thought it was just so funny that Levi's phone was ringing and B was telling him about it, but he wasn't even listening. Like, he didn't even hear it. Like, that's how engrossed he was in kissing B. Like, he was so committed where he's like, I don't care. And I was like, good for you, Levi. Let's continue. Let's go. Like,
Literally.
But then, unfortunately, he finally gets his shit together, answers the phone, and then unfortunately, he does have to leave. And B assumes that it's the woman on the phone that he used to date, and we can see that she's like doubting herself now, which only adds fuel to the fire, because now B is thinking like, oh, Levi doesn't really, you know, he has to tend to a different girl or whatever. And so I can definitely see where that doubt comes in. And then the chapter ends with him forgetting his keys, and B runs it to him. But before he leaves, he cups her cheek and kisses her. And at this point, I was swooning over Levi. Like, I was so in love with him. Like, oh my gosh, adorable.
Because the sweet little kiss after that I love that man. I love that man. Oh my God.
But that is the end of the steamy chapter 16.
Oof, the Martha. All right.
It only gets steamier.
Literally. Yeah, literally in the next chapter. Okay, here we go. Chapter 17 begins with Levi taking a day off and Rocio going on about how she's in love with Kay, as she calls her. Then we find out there are articles coming out after the movement B accidentally started is not a good thing. B then sends a message to her Twitter friend who oddly makes her think of Levi. Next, B fills in her sister about her kiss with Levi, who of course freaks out. Before we know it, Levi and B finally have sex after Levi opens up about losing his friend who started the Blink project.
Yeah.
What I tell you, somehow whenever we do these book reviews, I swear, I somehow always get stuck taking notes about the sex chapters.
Yes,
every
you do.
single time.
Yes, you do.
And I just, not that it's like a bad thing, but I'm like, yo, let's.
It's destiny at this point, Theoni.
Page 28. When she said, "Don't worry, I know that kiss meant nothing to him," I got so mad at her because I was like, if it meant nothing to him, he would have left without a second thought, without anything. Yeah. But he was very kind to you when he left. Like, he gave you no indication to say that he wasn't into that, especially because of the sweet kiss he gave her before he left. So, like, why are you doing this now?
I agree, because he also admitted that he liked her. Like, she already knew that. Literally. So I was like, B, what are you talking about? Literally. But isn't it that Levi hasn't, like, texted her for 2 days or whatever, too?
I think so.
So a part of me is like, okay, B, I understand.
Or they've only talked about work.
Yes. I understand how that is so jarring after such a steamy kiss, that it could be very jarring to get silence from him about that. So a part of me is like, yes, but no, in understanding B's concern.
That's why I stare as he walks away. I'm memorized by how broad, firm, solid he looks. And that's why when he reaches the stairs and turns around, he finds me still there looking. He smiles and I smile. The smiles linger, warm, honest, and I hear myself ask, you sure you don't want to come in? It's not that his throat works. I didn't come here for that. I didn't think you did. I make room for him, and with a few tentative lumbering steps, he's inside, in all his hulking, massive grace. And then they just have this, like, small talk, and then, like, obviously the scene progresses, but, like, something about the nervousness of, like, him wanting to respect her, and, like, all of these things, and then, obviously, eventually they go... and they have a beer on the porch, and he, like, apologizes for the emergency and explains everything. And especially with, like, you know, why, even though they briefly dated, it was, you know, she ended up marrying my best friend and he died. And of course I'm going to be there to support her. So it's not like that. And I think that really helps B, like, conceptualize, like, where she's at in his life.
And it addresses her fears, again, because of fucking Tim. It addresses her fears and makes her feel stable and secure that, hey, it's not what she's thinking. It's not the worst case scenario. It's, hey, there's a lot of history here, and I just feel an obligation to now provide and help them as much as I can, which
Totally
speaks so much to Levi's
I know.
character. Like, I just, oh my God, I'm like in pain physically just thinking about it.
It says, suddenly I'm not scared anymore. I know what to do, or at least what I want to do. I stand, slide the beer out of Levi's hand, and set it on the metal railing with a clink. Then I lower myself into his lap, legs on each side of his waist, my arms around his neck. I wait until his hands are around my waist. And then obviously they start, like, making out. Like, they are so... And he just, like, he literally cannot. And then he says, I used to dream of you. And, like, and then on page 238, on page 237, he literally looks down at her and says, I want to fuck you. And then he asks, can I fuck you? And then
Okay, sorry, can I just say my piece about this, right? This is the same type of shit with his physical description where it's like,
fair.
I know you need to ask and you're trying to be respectful, but don't ask that way.
literally just do it.
Yes, either do it or ask it differently. Don't ask it. Oh my God, like, I couldn't. I could not. No.
Okay. Page 239.
Okay.
When he finds out, takes everything off, and he looks at me like he has found all of a sudden, like my body is a religious experience, has me squirming up for contact. This, he says breathlessly, his thumb tracing reverently the piercing on my nipple.
Yeah.
And then she goes, if you don't like it, and then he literally shushes her. And he loved that surprise.
Yes, he did.
Man's was done after that. He's like, no, hush. This just... He literally could not handle himself.
See, that's why I'm telling you that I think Levi is totally okay with the whole daddy thing.
Selena, no.
Yes! Yes, I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill. Nope, I'm dying on it.
Well, okay, you can die on it, and I will go on another hill and say the opposite. Bye.
Oh my God.
Okay, when he literally says to her, this might be over quickly, something about that was so hot, but also so cute. Yeah. I didn't know how to react. Yeah, I was like, because I was literally like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's so, oh my God, this whole scene just had me dying.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep, I agree.
And then she was literally like, I need a minute. And he It says we're both shaking, gasping, sweaty against each other, but I pause for a moment and he nods, choppy, pleased, good girl. He literally says good girl.
I'm telling you, this daddy argument is getting stronger and stronger as you keep going
just
through
because
this.
he likes to say that does not mean he likes
Yes!
to say that.
What are you talking about?
No.
What
I'm
are
sorry.
you talking about?
Okay, well,
What are you talking about?
It's just my opinion. I refuse.
Okay.
I refuse. I truly refuse. Okay, but that's all I have for chapter 17.
So spicy, but I feel like we deserved it after all of the tension.
Yeah, we did.
You know?
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did.
It was crazy. I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say.
I know,
Like,
truly.
I can't even.
Chapter 18. Chapter 18 begins with Levi and Bee showing their working prototype to the team, who are all very impressed. So impressed that Boris tells Bee to talk to him if she wants to work for NASA one day. Then Levi and Bee go to a not date. On this date, where Bee wears her infamous Target dress that Levi loves, and Levi gives explanations for every time he was mean to Bee. Then they go back to Levi's house that he used to share with a girlfriend and discuss what Bee thinks about relationships in general. The chapter ends with an incredibly spicy sex scene where Bee finds herself outside of her own body. Damn. Like one after another.
I know.
Like I was not expecting this.
But I feel like I needed this though, because the love hypothesis only had one. So I feel like Love on the Brain redeemed that.
Yeah,
I was like, you're not going to fly with just one sex scene now, you know? So.
Literally. Okay, so I was so happy for Bee when she got that work offer for NASA. Like, because that's all she's been working for. And she's been so stressed this whole time that, like, her job's on the line and her career is over and all of these things. So then when she finally got that, I was just happy. Because it's all because of her and her skills and her smarts. So, like, I was very, very happy about that.
I know, and I feel like that's what she wanted. And she finally has it in her grasp, you know? Like, I'm just so happy for her.
On page 246, this is my note. Okay, this is what growth looks like. When she stops her train of thinking that I'll minimize what I want to make what I think he wants, but she says yes, and it makes me happy because she deserves more than a shitty man like Tim. That's what I wrote. Because again, this is like her insecurity. Like, so I was really happy to see that very specific moment of growth where she stops her like overthinking.
Yes.
Because I think that's very important for her.
I do remember reading that and I was like, damn, Bee, good for you. Because that's really hard to do. And especially with all that she's gone through, I feel like that's such a hard thing for her to stop and be like, hey, just stop spiraling. You know, like it's not the same. It's not the same situation.
Exactly. On the page of 246, I literally just have to say she was being so dumb because she had this conversation with Schmack and he literally said, I'm taking her out for dinner. I was like,
yes,
but you're going out to like, come on.
Didn't she literally have a thought and be like, haha, I'm actually going out to dinner too. But she never texted it because like Levi pulls up in the truck.
I don't know that she does, but she does have a thought that she's like, wait, isn't the girl in a relationship? So, like, I don't want to judge him for that. So
yes, I do remember that.
You can see the wheels are starting to turn.
Yep. And that's why she doesn't think it's Levi. That's the thing, again, you know?
Literally. So I stop. Levi is staring at me open-mouthed. I have hummingbird shit on my face, don't I? He keeps staring. Do you have a tissue? I look around the cabin. Or even a piece of paper? No, you don't. He shakes his head, lost for words. What's wrong? You ... He swallows. The dress. You wore ... The dress. I glance at myself. Oh, yes. I did wear the Target dress. I thought you said you didn't really hate it. And I don't. He swallows. I really don't. I take a better look at him and realize the way he's staring, which is, oh, my heartbeat picks up. And then he says, can I kiss you? You don't have to ask.
Yes!
But then they like get into that steamy makeout session. And then the person walks by. The way I yelped when the honking horn interrupted them.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love that scene so much.
The sequence was just so perfect because you could see Levi was just so shook. He was like, are you kidding me? And I'm just, oh my God.
I love it so much. We get a little inkling while they're at dinner about, you know, when B was eavesdropping with Sam at the beginning and she didn't hear him finish the sentence. But still, at this point, we don't find out what the rest of that conversation was. I was so irritated. I was like, can you just tell us already?
Yeah, really.
So then at this point, they're staring at each other and they're like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And then he says, go for a jog. Ugh, like, come on. You don't need to go for a jog. Okay, I will say, I really like during this scene because when they're talking about relationships and things like that, he realizes that she's very skittish about getting into a relationship.
Yes.
And he's trying to be very respectful of that, but also try to be sneaky about the way he's like going about it because he doesn't want to scare her off or also like push her boundaries too much. So like I appreciate that that's something he's consciously thinking about.
I agree. And again, it speaks so much to Levi's character. When I read this section, though, I was like, oh, it's not going to end well. Not at all.
So then the sex scene happens, right? I'm not going to go into heavy detail, but I have to say this one blew my mind. Levi is a kinky mother trucker.
Receipt! No! Receipts!
No, okay,
Are
it's
you
not a receipt because did he one time? No,
No,
Selena.
it is receipts, okay? He doesn't have to outwardly say, oh, I like being called daddy. It's all of his actions that he's doing.
I dare you to DM Ali Hazelwood on Instagram and ask. I will not believe it until I hear it from her mouth.
No. I know that he is, because of this sex scene, because I know how kinky he is, I could definitely see that Ali Hazelwood just plopped the little daddy thing on top. What?
Okay. Well,
you know I'm right.
No, literally. I will not. I will not believe it. But I will say the part where he literally eats her out from behind.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, is this really happening right now? Is this really? We just got 3 spicy scenes in these chapters in a row. I was like, like so much was happening.
I was like, I need to take a break.
Literally, I need to slow down.
No, it was so different than the previous chapter's sex scene, but in such a good way. Like, because you could tell just how obsessed Levi was with her. Like, literally. It was insane.
But yeah, that's the end of the chapter.
Damn. Okay. Let's jump to chapter 19 then. Things are going super well. The Blink demonstration is coming up and all their test trials have been working great. B is still sleeping with Levi, but it's still a secret between them, and most importantly, B only thinks of it as temporary. Levi asks B to move in with him because she's spending so much time with him. When cooking dinner together one evening, Levi gets a call for a play date with Penny Sullivan. B realizes that there might be something more happening with Levi as she gets weird pangs all of a sudden, aka love pangs, as I like to call them. And Penny makes B faint with her stuffed spider. The chapter ends with B asking if she can meet Levi's parents. So at this point of the book, everything is going so great for B. And I was like living for it because I was like, you know what? B deserves it. After all of the shit that she's been through, this has been so great.
No, seriously.
You know? But when Levi asked her to move in, I was like, oh, okay. Let's hold our horses just a little bit. Is this a little too fast? I mean, I understand why he asked, because at this point, B was staying at his house literally every single night, that I was like, okay, you know what? That's valid. That's valid for Levi to ask, because it's kind of outrageous for B not to be there if she's spending all of her
so
nights
much
there.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's a lot to ask, you know?
Yeah.
And so I want to hear your thoughts on like what your reaction was when you first saw that he asked her this.
I mean, I freaked out a little bit, but again, I don't think I had as strong of a reaction as I would in other things like this, because like it happened one summer when Brendan asked her. I was like, y'all, that was a whole different story, right? But then like, or when Brendan gave her the keys to his house, I was like, what the heck is happening?
Yes.
But with this, it was more of like, I'm not trying to necessarily take the next step with you.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like logistically, this would be easier for you.
Yes.
You know, so like
Yes.
I understood his reasoning, so it didn't freak me out as
Okay.
much as it would without the context.
No, you're so right, especially when you brought up it happened one summer, because that clearly didn't make sense. But this was almost like, this is just a reasonable setup. Like, this
Yep.
just makes better sense. Okay, that I definitely agree with you. And then I just want to read a little quote / interaction that they had on 265. B says, quote, FYI, I wear a retainer at night. Levi says, sexy. And B says, and your bathroom will be stained purple forever. Seriously. 5 showers and your bathtub will be a giant eggplant emoji. He gives me a solemn nod and pulls me closer. It's everything I ever wanted. I almost cried reading that,
I
because
know.
you know what? It is everything that he wants.
It is. It
Like,
literally is.
That's what breaks my heart, because I'm like, that is all Levi wants. Like, he doesn't even fucking care. Like,
No, he does not care at
Yeah.
all. He just wants her clothes.
I know. Oh my god. Okay.
So beautiful.
Okay, so I want to call out that when they're cooking in the kitchen, B says that they're casual, and you can see Levi physically stiffen. At this point, I was like, oh my god. I was like, 1, I know that this isn't going to end well. But 2, I'm like, you guys need to have a conversation at one point. Like, what
Literally.
the heck is happening? What do you mean that she's now staying at your place versus the apartment that they were providing her? You guys are sleeping together almost every single freaking night. Okay, let's be real. And, you know, and you guys are cooking dinner together and just all of this stuff. So I'm like, you guys need to have a conversation, because clearly you guys are on different pages. And
No.
maybe it's that Levi doesn't want to push the envelope, because he wants to give her that space and he wants to be able to go at her pace. But at the same time, I'm like, Levi, honey, you're going to get hurt.
No, literally. And he did. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
agree with you 100%. And I also think her saying that was her like trying to protect herself too. So
Yes.
I understand why both of them are doing what they're doing, but I agree.
Yes.
A conversation needs to happen at some point.
Yes.
Because you need to make sure you're on the same page.
Yeah, no, and clearly they were not. Like, I definitely know Levi was not on the same page.
No.
But it's funny, though, too, because it's like, it's almost as if B was trying to convince herself that this was casual. Like, she has to say it out loud in order
Yep.
for it to be true, in order to offset all those pangs that she's feeling,
Yes.
which we'll get into the next scene here. So they go over to Lily Sullivan's house for a play date with Penny, which was the cutest thing in the world. Penny is so funny and adorable.
So funny and adorable. Like I
loved
this
her.
scene so much.
I just wanted to squeeze her. Like, she was just
Literally.
so cute. And seeing her with Levi made me love him even more.
No, truly. Like I am in love with that man.
Like, my ovaries just exploded. I was like, well, there
Literally.
it goes. I am going to read a quote on page 269. So she's talking with Lily. This is B and Lily talking in the patio as Levi and Penny are playing out in the yard. Lily says, and thank you for sharing Levi with us. There's a lump in my throat. He's not mine to share. I think he might be, actually. Which was the biggest realization for me, that everyone else around them knows that there's something more there, but it's constantly B who is denying it.
Yes, 100%.
So that's, again, the reason why I'm thinking where she's just trying to say these things out loud of, oh no, we're casual, we're fine, whatever, it's temporary, blah, blah, blah. In order for her to convince herself that she's not seeing what everyone else is seeing, you
Yeah.
know?
Literally.
And then on page 271, when B admits that she would love to have twins and Penny says that Levi would as well, I cackled, because Penny is the wingman that Levi never asked for, but now, like, Penny is, and it's so funny and cute.
I know. I love it so much.
It's adorable.
And
I literally
he just like could not. He was like so embarrassed.
I know,
And I loved it.
It's so cute, so cute. So When Penny kept making B faint, I died. It was so funny, but to be honest, if this was in real life, I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, this little kid is such a shit. Has the audacity to make me faint. Like, I'd be so angry.
But it was literally so funny to read it.
It was so funny, but also because Penny is like absolutely adorable.
Exactly.
I have a quote on 272. This is when B is like waking up. Everything's foggy, but I think I'm in Levi's arms. He's patiently holding my head up, no concern in his tone. In fact, he sounds weirdly charmed. This happens to her every other day. Slander, I mumble, fighting to open my eyes. Lies. He smiles down at me, and he's so handsome. I love his face. What? You're telling me that you think that this is casual, B? Oh,
whatever.
My gosh. Really?
Yeah, I don't buy it. I
was like, no, you are so in love with him, even if you deny it every single day of your life. Like, whatever.
Literally, whatever. Whatever, major loser. Okay. Here is my voice memo. It's probably me freaking out about the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I'm literally laughing so hard. Page 273. Oh my gosh, when Penny pulls out the pretend tarantula again and she faints again. Oh my gosh, and on the page before when Levi says, Levi, I love your girlfriend so much. And he says, I know the feeling. Are we just going to ignore that?
I totally forgot about that.
No, that's why I was like, are we just going to ignore the fact that that was just said? I know the feeling?
What do you mean you know the feeling, Leah? Tell me more.
Literally.
Yeah.
He's so in love with her.
He is, so freaking in love.
Literally.
I have something on 273 as well. So this is when they are leaving Lily's house. Mm-hmm. And Lily asks, how long will you be in Houston? All I can do is burrow farther into Levi's side. Unclear. The project was originally supposed to last around 3 months, but things are going very well, so I shrug. Levi's arm tightens around me. I'm fully aware that Levi and I are the Merriam-Webster definition of transitionary, but I'm enjoying this so much. His company, his friends, his food. I'll be sad when this is over in a couple of weeks. At this point, I was like, B, you are so delusional.
Literally.
She is so delusional. I'm like, what do you mean? You're just burrowing into him, but you think that this is casual and blah, blah, blah. Like, what makes you think that any of this is casual? That you can just leave after these couple of weeks?
Literally. I was like, why? It's just like, I get why Ali Hazelwood was like doing that, but I was really irritated at this point. I'm like, okay, I get it, but like, let's move past this because I'm kind of sick of hearing the same thing.
Yes. Yep. Going into the annoyed feeling, when B asked if she can come to meet with Levi's family, I was like, girl, what are you doing? Meeting his family is not signs of being temporary. Like, that feels really committed to me. And so it felt very disjointed for me for her to ask, oh, can I meet your family? Like, why?
Well, to me, I think the reason she was adamant about it is because she thought it would be making it easier on Levi to deal with his family. So I think that was her way of like trying to like help him out.
Okay.
So I don't think she was necessarily thinking about it in the context of their relationship.
Got it.
At least that's how I read it.
No, you're so right. So I read it in like the context of their relationship, but you're so right. I feel like in that way it makes more sense because B is very, very considerate that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Well, that's the end of chapter 19. Do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Jumping into chapter 20. So chapter 20 opens with Ro and Kaylee telling B that they might ask at What Would Marie Do on Twitter for an interview for the Fair Graduate Admissions Movement. Odd pangs that B has been feeling for Levi only intensify when they have dinner with his parents and brother. B comes to Levi's defense when they hound him once again about joining the armed forces. On the ride home, B admits to Levi that she really likes him. The chapter ends with a spicy scene in the kitchen. Okay, I I know what happens at the end, but I need to address the elephant in the room, Theoni,
No, say
because
it.
I have been dying. I have been dying to talk to you about this, and it's been physically paining me to not tell you about it. So let's talk about this fucking kitchen scene, okay? B gives Levi a blowjob, right? That literally blows his mind. Whatever. We knew it was coming because she promised it when they went to the restaurant. Sorry. On page 287. Oh my God. Okay. On page 287, it says, quote, softly with his thumb, he traces the bulge of his cock through the skin of my cheek. I'll admit that was pretty hot, okay? Okay?
Wait, will you repeat that again? Because I don't think I understand.
Okay. Softly with his thumb, he traces the bulge of his cock
Yes.
through the skin of my cheek.
Yes.
I'll admit that was pretty hot, okay?
That was pretty hot.
I was like on board. You know what wasn't hot, though? On the bottom of page 287, when he does it in her mouth, right? And he says, quote, I want you to open your mouth and show me. And Reed fucking does it. And then wait, it gets worse. It says, quote, he massages the back of my neck while I swallow. His thumb caresses my jaw. And when I smile up at him, he stares at me like I've just gifted him with something divine. Okay, you know what? I'll be honest. I can jump on a lot of kink trains, okay? I can jump on the daddy train if I want to. I can jump on the good girl kink train if I want to as well. But this? No! This kink train can leave without me. No thank you. No thank you to that kink train. I can't. I literally could not. I could not, Theoni.
No, it was so...
Like...
I'm sorry. You just made me laugh. No, it like I actually almost vomited. Like
Me
that
too!
was so gross.
Me
that
too!
Was so
You know
so
what?
gross. I
Someone's-
think that's what my voice memo was about, actually.
You know
no,
what?
it was. It was.
Yeah. I don't want to ick someone's yum, but I'm going to anyways. Okay. I have to because I really can't with this. Okay. I've never read anything like this. And I've read a lot of stuff.
Girl, same. That was over the line.
Really.
You just thinking about it makes you want to die.
I know,
Okay,
I know.
Let's see my reaction because you know I'm about to say some shit.
Page 287. Did he really just make her show his cum in her mouth?
Yes.
That's it. Like,
you couldn't
I literally
even
was
speak.
speechless. No,
Yes.
truly.
Like I literally could not believe it. And I had to put the book down and laugh, but also take deep breaths because I just couldn't believe it. Like I was like, what the fuck did I just read?
No, truly. I was like, there's no way this is real.
You know what? The thing is too is that Adam Carlson would never. He would never.
He wouldn't.
He wouldn't. And that's the difference. That is the difference, okay?
Oh.
Which again, what goes back to my daddy argument.
Enough with the daddy argument, Selena. You're not going to change my mind.
This seals the deal that he is so kinky that you think that he wouldn't go for daddy. He freaking went for this.
I just feel like if he went for daddy, then it would have been said. Like, it would have, like...
I guess. Fine, I guess. But still.
Well, Selena, I just don't believe it. Or maybe it's that I don't want to believe it. I'm going to deny until I die, okay?
I need Ali Hazelwood to write a perspective from Levi's view and have his thoughts about when she says, okay, daddy, at the conference. I want to see how he reacts.
Okay, yes, that would give us the truth.
Okay. Good to know. Ali Hazelwood, if you're listening. I'm just kidding.
Because she definitely is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. After getting that freaking deal dealt with, I just needed to address it because I couldn't handle. going back to their family dinner, right? I just want to say that his family is so fucking shitty, and I
Like
feel
the actual
so
worst.
yeah, I feel so bad for him.
Me too.
And the fact that they were so disrespectful to B too
Oh my
made me
gosh.
even angrier. I was like, wow, okay, like you not only disrespect Levi, but you disrespect anyone in Levi's life ever.
Which is so disgusting.
I know. And the fact too, when like his dad was like, Colonel, please call me Colonel. I was like, get off your high horse.
Literally, screw you, dude.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then B says this whole spiel about defending Levi and how he is at NASA and he's one of the best engineers and blah, blah, blah. And his father is like, Miss, you're very rude. And Levi was like, no, she isn't. And she's also a fucking doctor. And I was like, yes, she is.
I loved that so much.
Me too. I was like, yeah, you defend your doctor, okay? I was
Literally.
like, I'm living for that. On the ride back, I love that B truly realized just how great Levi is, especially with the context of his family. I gaze at the dusky Houston lights, thinking that the way his family treats him should diminish him in my eyes, realizing the truth is just the opposite. There's something patient about the way he quietly stands up for himself, about the way he sees others. At that point, I could truly see the way that B sees Levi. But the way that she realizes it too is just so beautiful. And also just made me love Levi more. Like just how
Same.
gentle of a heart he has, coming from the most shitty family I've ever heard of.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. It made me have a lot of respect for him too. And I'm glad that like B was really like realizing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Casual my ass.
Yes, exactly. Right. And then the cherry on top, on the way when they're driving in the car, B admits that she really, 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 3 reallys, likes Levi. And he says, quote, I'm pretty sure I like you more. And I was like, oh my gosh, you do, Levi. I know you do, but it's so cute. It's so cute. I love it.
And I love that B took the first step to say that.
I know. It's huge
Because
for
that's
her.
just what he's been waiting for.
I know. And it is huge for her to admit that she is starting to feel those things again, especially after fucking Tim. And then B tells him that he can be himself with her and that she doesn't bite and that she won't hurt him like his family did. And Levi goes, you could rip me to shreds, B. Which is just, I think, is the most vulnerable that Levi gets. But it also comes back to what happens at the end of the novel, which we'll get to. But I was like, wow, this man
Like the
is in
love for her goes so deep.
I know.
So
I know.
deep.
It's crazy.
Alrighty, right into chapter 21.
Yeah.
In chapter 21, everything goes nuts. Benjamin from STC posts fake DMs from What Would Marie Curie Do that ruined the fair admissions movement. Not only that, but B gets served legally, which means someone out there knows she is behind the account. Finally, Schmack is on her side and is going to try to find a way to help. I think the reason I don't have a lot for this chapter is because it's a lot of just like, this is what happens, this is what happens, this is what happens, and it kind of sets up the rest of the chapters,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
because all like shit literally hits the fan.
Yes.
Of course, when it just gets to such a beautiful point,
I
then
know.
of course everything goes bad.
Yeah.
I knew as soon, like I literally knew right away, as much as I was excited about the Twitter account, I knew that something was going to happen with it that was going to cause chaos. Because
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way that this is becoming such a big part of this book without having some consequences to it. So I knew it was going to
Yes.
blow up, but I didn't expect it to blow up like that.
Me neither.
Like I didn't expect it to get legal.
Yes. So the thing is that when I saw that guy had leaked her like fake DMs, but it came from her account, I was like, well, you can avoid, like, you're fine. You can avoid that. But then when she was served legal papers, I was like, oh, just kidding. Just
Yep.
kidding. You can. And that's, again, another point that Ali Hazelwood really stepped up her game with all these stakes of like, there's
Yep.
no point of return. There is really, truly nothing that she can do to back out of this. She has to go through with it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree. On page 295, I just have to point this out. Levi and Schmack literally texted her within seconds of each other, and she still can't put it together. B, like, come on, dude.
She's in distress. Give her some space.
I don't give a crap at this point. Girl. But yeah, that's literally all I have for the chapter.
Okay.
Chapter 22. In chapter 22, it's the day of the presentation and things don't go as planned. Something went wrong with the simulation, which results in Guy having a seizure and being rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, this meant Boris and Trevor placing all the blame on B for the mistake. As B rushes out, Levi attempts to get her to stay but is not successful when B tells him to stay for Peter and Penny. At the bottom of page 300, it says, "No, it does not feel like home. Home is something else. Home is the new lab this gig is going to get me. Home is the publications I'll write about today. Home is the community of women in STEM I made for myself that I'll somehow have to fight for. That's home, not Levi." I was so annoyed at this point of her like constantly rejecting the connection. I was like, B, like you literally just said you really, really like him. Like you're about to do this presentation. Like why are you still resisting it? I was so irritated.
So, yes and no to what you're saying because, yes, I'm like, I agree because it is freaking annoying at this point. You guys are sleeping together every single night. You've admitted to him that you like him. You know that he loves you already too. So it's like, what is happening? But I'm saying no as well though because it's her wound way deeper than we've ever seen.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
think because she's never really had a home, right? She's always kind of been traveling. That the idea of a home being someone and not a place is scary.
Sure.
Because
fair.
because Tim is the one who fucking left her and Annie as well. And so she's like, I can't conceptualize the idea that home would ever be a person when I need to be stable, have a house, you know, do all the things and call one city my home. And I think that's what freaked her out is because like she just couldn't even fathom the idea that Levi could be home. Which makes sense.
When you explain it like that, you're right. That makes sense.
Okay.
No, it's true. It's true.
So it makes sense and I just feel bad for her because she has gotten hurt so much that she can't even allow herself that happiness, which we'll also talk about later.
Yeah. Okay, and then on page 303, just the way that this section was written with like, I thought, okay, it was going wrong, but then it started going right, but then it went wrong, and then it went right, and then it like exploded. So it's just like, I thought it was gonna work, but then it wasn't working.
Yep.
Like the tension was so real. So like shout out to the writing during that part. She runs out because it all becomes her fault and she is selfless in the way that she wants Levi to do because she knows how meaningful this is for him. And that's pretty much the end of the chapter. So again, just like a lot of stuff happens. Do you have anything particular to note?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, you said it all. It gave me hope, and then I didn't have hope, and then I had some more hope, and then everything went to shit.
And of course, it falls on B. Screw you.
I know. I was pissed about that too.
Yeah.
Here's my synopsis. At the end of her rope, B begins to pack to leave Houston and Blink behind, but Levi arrives on her doorsteps. He begs B to return to work on Blink. But B can't rid of the guilty feeling that she has that she hurt someone in the trials. Levi gets upset because if B doesn't stay for Blink, she could at least stay for him and their relationship. He admits that he loves her, that he's scared to allow himself to have what he wants and deserves in life. Even as Levi promises to be her safety net, to be her quote-unquote nice, B still says that she can't stay. The chapter ends with Levi giving her a flash drive and leaving. This chapter broke my heart.
No, same. I'm sorry. I fully was pissed at B now. And I'm sure
Really?
you'll have some reason. Or like, I'm sure you'll have some explanation that will make me change my mind.
Yeah.
But as of this moment, I was so mad at her. I was
Yeah.
like, B, I get it. Like, I get it. But at the same time, enough.
Yeah.
Please
no.
just be with him and be
No.
done.
No, you're right. You're right. At a point, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. He is, okay, I'll get into it. Okay. So I can understand where B's guilt is coming from. She put Guy in danger during the trial, which can be very traumatizing. So it was heartbreaking to see how much faith and trust Levi had in B, that he was hoping to ultimately win her over and make her stay to help on Blink. Like it was just so refreshing to see, because a lot of people have doubted her. Trevor has, Tim has, Annie has, all of that. And so he's the only one who's like, you're the only one who can work on Blink. But then when that doesn't work, we get on the topic of their relationship, which broke my heart even more. And so I'm going to read a quote on the bottom of page 213. Oh, no, not 213, 312.
I was like, damn, we're taking it way back. Okay.
312. Sorry. I obviously cannot fucking read. Sorry. Okay. He says, I don't know. Maybe the fact that we've been together every second of the past 2 weeks, that we've made love every single night, that I know that you sigh in your sleep, that you floss like a maniac, that you taste like honey everywhere. Like, it just showed me how much Levi was falling in love with B. And it made me so sad because, again, he is so considerate. But every single time he is showing just how considerate he is. It's like, it baffles me just how much he
because
loves
you
her.
don't think he can get better, but then he says things like that and he gets better.
I know. It's like, it's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Literally crazy.
Okay. On page 313, he admits that he loves her. And what's even more crazy is that he also tells her that she's in love with him too. But it's interesting though, because then Levi dives into this huge spiel where he basically psychoanalyzes her to a T, that because everyone has left her alone, that's why she doesn't allow herself to have the things that she wants, which makes sense because that's super scary when you keep losing everyone and everything. So that is my argument as to why B said no and why I was okay with B to say no to Levi, because nothing has ultimately changed between her and Levi that is not the same as her and any other relationship that she's ever had. Like, even her sister has walked out. Her freaking sister, her twin sister, has walked out and lived her own life. So it's like, okay, well, what makes Levi different? And you could argue that he knows her so well and that they're already living together and all of this stuff, but it's she doesn't have all of the resources to make that decision.
Sure.
Even though we as readers might. And so that is why I gave B a pass in this chapter, because it's so much easier said than done to get over her wound and her fear of everyone leaving her, and then just like hoping that Levi can like stay and provide. Then B admits, after Levi basically psychoanalyzes her, B admits that she felt fine after talking with Tim. And Levi says that he can be her fine. And so I am going to read something on 314. Levi says, I can give you nice. I can give you better than nice. I can give you everything. He smiles at me, full of hope. You don't even have to admit to yourself that you love me, B. God knows I love you enough for the both of us. But I need you to stay. I need you to stick around. Not in Houston if you don't want to. I'll follow you if you ask me to. But this man is on his hands and knees and can give
Literally.
her everything. And I think that's the part where I was a bit pissed off at B, because I was like, are you not convinced? Like, it doesn't make sense. But again, I think the fact that like it's all, she doesn't want to face the fear of lost again, which again goes back to the point of like, she hasn't gotten a cat because she can't even face the loss of the death when it comes. And so I can agree at that point. And then going back to when you pointed out his house, it's like, oh yeah, no, he can give her literally everything she has ever wanted.
Yeah.
Everything she has wanted, but it's not enough because even if she has everything, people have still left her. Like, she needs something more than just material. Or
like
just
she
pets.
said earlier in the book, she's a slut for stability.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
But I think what's confusing is that she doesn't define what stability is. And I think she's trying to define it still, because stability, she's only known as moving around. And maybe, I guess you can call stability her sister. But even then, when they turned 18, she was gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understand that B is trying to define what stability is, and what Levi can provide her, I don't think is enough to tip her over the point.
Page 315 to 316. You know what? I get B has trauma. Okay, I freaking get it. But guess what? He's literally there begging you, telling you he's in love with you. Are you dumb? You're literally dumb.
I know.
The amount of anger I feel.
I was angry,
I
Selena.
know.
I was
know.
angry.
I know. As I was thinking about all of this too, and, you know, Levi went on his spiel and he was saying he could give her everything and stuff, it made me even more heartbroken too, to think that when Schmack was talking to B, Schmack had basically said via Twitter that he'll have her as long as she'd allow him to. But it's so short, like the time that they've had, and it breaks my heart because Levi wanted this so much, and like I just couldn't handle. But then at the same time, B hasn't made that connection yet, so that's fine. But because we knew it, I was like dying.
Yeah, it made it more heartbreaking.
Yeah. Ultimately, she says she can't stay, even as he promises to give her everything. And it's really nice that he doesn't push her anymore. But it also makes me very, very sad and angry that it came to this point. But at the same time, again, I understand B's wound and fear. It's not something that you can just get over in a couple of months. Which, okay, this is a hill I'm going to die on. And I really, really wanted to talk to you about it. Of the comparison of this book versus what happened with It Happened One Summer with Brendan. So if you remember, spoilers if you haven't read It Happened One Summer, but basically, remember at the end of the book, Brendan basically like turns on fucking Poppy or Piper. whatever her fucking name is. I don't care. And he's basically like, well, you should have told me if you were going to go back to LA and blah, 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 and how it basically ruined the book for me. I think what Ali Hazelwood did with Love on the Brain.
Hazel did.
I'm telling you, I can't speak. I
know
literally
this,
can't
Selena.
speak.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
What Ali Hazelwood did with Love on the Brain is what Tessa Bailey should have done with It Happened One Summer.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense why B would say no. All this time throughout this novel, we have gotten background of how she's looking for stability, but everyone has left her. Everyone has betrayed her. Everyone keeps doing these things behind her back. And the fact that she can't have a cat because she can't deal with the loss because she dealt with her loss of her parents, and how she has eventually accepted her sister's, lifestyle of traveling everywhere, but it still sucks and she misses her. All of this background to build to this one point where I was like, okay, you know what? This makes sense. I understand why B would say no to Levi. But the fact that Brendan was like, you should have told me this, blah, 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 it just like didn't make sense. And it
made no sense.
Yes. And it was so crazy because as I was reading this part in the book, I was like, oh, this is exactly what I needed from It Happened One Summer. And again, I think it just goes to say that, again, I understand why B would say no, even though I was angry with her and I was very, very sad for Levi. The chapter ends with Levi giving her a flash drive and saying that it's something else for her to be scared about. Which, when he first said that, I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what is on that flash drive? I was so confused, but I was very, very intrigued, like what he would give to her. But yeah, that is the end of chapter 23. Do you have any thoughts? Any other lingering thoughts?
I do not, but I am excited to hear what you have to say about chapter 24.
Oh boy, buckle up. Here is chapter 24. B tries to right as many wrongs as she can. She emails Ro and urges her to keep working on blank. She DMs Schmack about the situation with STC. Then she clicks on Schmack's profile picture, and the one and only... how do you say his name?
Schmack? Oh,
The cat's name.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
I don't know.
Schokelinger.
On Schmack's profile, and the one and only black cat, very, very familiar, is a profile picture up against a very, very familiar dark blue backsplash. B finally realizes that Schmack is Levi, and the girl he was talking about was her. Finally, she watches the video on the flash drive that he gave her, and it's of her little cat roaming around the building. But most importantly, she sees that her Twitter is up on her laptop, something she didn't do herself. Plus, the timestamps are all early in the morning, which B has never gone to work that early. She texts Levi about how she can get access to the security footage, but he doesn't respond. So she goes to the building to get to the bottom of the mystery. Upon arrival, B tries to piece the puzzle together, realizing whoever had access to her computer had access to her Twitter and the server files for yesterday's trial demonstration. Guy comes by and B realizes it's been him this entire time, sabotaging her life, messing with her emails, and the one who hacked her Twitter. As Guy points a gun at B, the little cat comes to save her by pouncing on Guy's face. B takes the chance to flee, and as Guy pursues her, Levi takes him down. The chapter ends with B fainting. This chapter,
Holy.
I was dying and my heart was pounding so fast.
No, literally. I couldn't breathe.
Oh,
Like
me
my
either.
heart. Yeah. No, it was intense. It was intense.
I'm gonna skip a lot of this because my synopsis talked about it, and I'm just gonna get to the good parts.
Yes.
So when B finally realized that Schmack was Levi, I was so freaking happy because I was like, finally, took you long enough. Okay.
Literally.
But it was so sweet when she went back to read like their conversation about the girl, realizes it was her all along, and it was just so cute and adorable.
I know.
Like it was just
because
so
that's
adorable.
when it really clicked with her. Like, oh, I can't leave this behind.
Exactly,
Like, I
that-
can't- Yeah.
Yes, that Levi really, really, truly loved her for all
And
this time.
Technically, he has been that stability that she's been looking for because they've been talking for all these years.
Because it's poetry. It's literally poetry. It's literally poetry in it. Oh my god. Again, I'm telling you.
Deep breath, Selena. Deep breath.
Ali Hazelwood outdid herself with this book. Like,
yeah.
it was perfect. Perfect how everything came together. Okay, anyways. I also thought it was absolutely adorable that Levi took the time to go through so many hours of security footage just to find the little cat. And it was so adorable because all this time, you know, he was doubting her and teasing her about like, oh, this cat is imaginary and it doesn't exist. But he knew all along, and he compiled footage as like proof. And it was just,
It was so perfect.
it was
like
so
truly
cute.
perfect.
Yeah. And like, this man loves her so much.
So
Like,
much.
acts of service. I'm telling you, acts of service.
No, straight up. That's what it is.
Yeah. So then let's get to the juicy part, okay?
Yes.
B realizes that her computer is on in the security footage, and she says that she always turns it off. Most importantly, she realizes her Twitter is pulled up, which is very, very odd, right? She texts Levi, but he doesn't respond, so she goes to the Space Center, which is so freaking dumb of her. I was like, what do you think going to the Space Center will solve, B? What do you think?
She probably was just like trying to figure it out. And like, I don't necessarily think that was stupid. Maybe she was going to look if like there were any clues on her computer or whatever. Like, I don't think she would ever anticipate that that would lead to something as bad as it did.
At 11 p.m., though, you can't even
okay,
get me
fair.
to...
At
you
that
can't-
time of the day.
Yes, you can't get me to go to the bathroom at 11
Yeah.
p.m. I was like, I'll just do it tomorrow morning. Like, no. So I personally thought it was a dead end when she finally pulled up the logs on who moved the files on the server, and it was her who did it. So I was like, well, what the heck? Like, this
Yeah.
is dumb. Who is it then? And then when Guy showed up, I knew. I fucking knew.
Yep, same. Right away. I was like, which I knew right away, but I was also shook. I was like,
too.
Guy?
Me too.
I thought it might have been one of the other engineers, like briefly
Yeah.
mentioned or something like that.
No,
But-
I was like, the second he showed up in that doorway, I was like, that fucker. He
Yep.
knew. He knew.
Yep.
I was so pissed. Which is crazy, too, because then B realizes that him showing up at 11 p.m. doesn't make sense either, especially when he had a seizure that day, earlier that day. Plus, he was conveniently blocking her only exit. And then what sealed the deal is when Guy asks how much she's told Levi about the security footage. And B realizes that he has access to her emails. And this is when it all started to click for me. We finally get background on Guy's motive and why he did all he did. The prototype was originally called Kowalski-Sullivan, which is his last name, and that his work was erased on it when Peter died. Then they chose Levi to lead the project over Guy, which makes sense. Like, I would be very, very bitter about that as well.
Sure, same.
So then he also took caffeine pills the morning of the trials to screw up Blank. He knew the history between her and Levi and tried to mess things up little by little, including missing files, delays here and there, missing emails. All of that was Guy. He also admitted that he found out that B wasn't really married and that Levi lied to Guy. So that's why he went on Twitter and messaged the guy from the news outlet and all of this stuff. All to say that Guy is fucking insane. Insane.
When I tell you, when he finally pulled out the gun so nonchalantly, I really didn't think it was gonna go there.
Me neither.
So I was shook. I was
Yes.
shook.
Again, it's like Ali Hazelwood did such a good job establishing him as the harmless, lovable
Yep.
guy, and he's super fun, and he, right, he loves his job and all this stuff. So it's like it came out of left field, but at the same time it didn't, and it was just so brilliant.
So brilliant.
Yep. So like you said, he pulls out a gun, and his ultimate plan is to force her to jump from the top of the building and create a story of how, like, she was so depressed about being kicked off of Blink that she had to just, like, end everything, which, okay, great. At this point, this is when B comes to face death, and she realizes that she didn't get a chance to do all the things that she wanted to do. And she thinks about Marie and how she actually got to live her life with Pierre, her husband, and even though Pierre died early, she still had that time with him, which makes B realize that even though, she had this small time with Levi, she could have more time. She could have had more time if she just gave him a frickin' chance. Which, even though it's excessive, I think this is exactly what she needed to get her over the wound.
Yeah.
She needed to literally face death to be like, hey, you can't waste time anymore. Because I think that reminded her of her parents as well.
No, it 100% did. Everything came back to her in that moment.
Yes. Yep. Then the little cute cat is there and saves the day, which I love because, again, Ali Hazelwood brings everything back.
Yep,
and I love that she shows up the moment that B needs her. It's so cute.
So cute. I saw that scene in my head so visually, and it was like hilarious.
It was so hilarious and cute, but just enough for B to escape.
Yep.
And so, right, the little cat jumps on Guy's face, and B is able to run out of the exit. I knew Levi would show up. I knew it!
And I loved it so much.
I knew. I was squealing.
Literally.
I was like, it's Levi. It's Levi. Let's talk about the quote at the bottom of page 332.
Okay.
When he says, can you do something for me, sweetheart? Like, swoon! He is still, like, the most gentle guy in, like, a time of stress. Like, literally, when she was about to die, he's like, can you do something for me, sweetheart?
No, literally, and he's like, go sit because I know you're gonna faint.
And I
like,
won't be able to catch you! I'm gonna die.
I'm in love with this man.
Yes.
Like, if I haven't said it 500 times already.
Like he knows her so well, but not only that, he knows how to maneuver her so that he can still take care of her.
That's all he wants to do is protect and take care of her.
Oh my gosh. Like, this man is crazy. So crazy.
You know that one quote from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody? When someone asks Cody during, like, some event, how do you lose a woman? And he says, you forget to cherish her.
Yes.
Like, I feel like Levi watched that show and took that to heart.
Really?
Like,
No.
Like, he cherishes.
Why
he cherishes.
Why
B.
can't men be like this in real life.
No,
like,
truly. Show me one man like that in real life.
I
They
just-
don't exist, which is a shame.
I
It's a
just
real
don't
shame.
understand. Like,
Yeah.
it's, oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, that is the end of chapter 24. Do you have anything to add?
I do not. Yeah, I think you hit it all, man.
Yeah.
The last of the book, chapter 25, shows Bea at the hospital after fainting and is comforted by Kaylee Rowe and, of course, Levi. Finally, Levi and Bea discover they've been talking this whole time through Twitter. The book ends with Bea arriving to Levi's home with Felicity and a promise for forever. And I literally put a puke emoji because of how cheesy my synopsis was at the end. But no, I know. I know.
The ending of this book was so perfect.
You think?
Yes.
I don't. Here's one thought. I think I
What?
might put this in my epilogue notes.
Okay.
But it didn't really wrap up the legal thing.
Oh, no,
with
you're right.
B.
You're right.
That's the one thing I felt like it didn't wrap up.
I agree.
Or are we just left to assume that it got knocked out the window because of everything that happened with Guy?
Yeah.
Or like,
probably because of the police investigation and stuff, because he did admit that it was him who did that all on her Twitter. So
yeah. So, okay. When
I'm sorry, I can't even.
No,
I can't.
literally.
I can't.
Let me look up the thing.
I literally can't.
You're
My-
gonna throw up. You're literally gonna throw up. Okay. So she opens the gift, right? First it's the mug, which is so cute. And then she goes, "A bobblehead? Is this Marie Curie?" I lifted up grinning. She's standing in front of her lab bench and she's wearing, this is her wedding gown. Did you know that? I didn't. He hesitates before adding, "I won this in middle school. Second place at the science fair. The beaker she's holding glow in the dark." My smile vanishes slowly. I'm too busy staring at Marie's pretty face to realize that I've heard that science fair story once before. No, I didn't hear it. I read it on my... And then that's when it all comes together and they both realize and then they both like communicate with each other and I
like teared up when she pulled out the bobblehead because I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. And it's the sweetest thing. And like
literally is.
Levi knew that
I
it
know.
was her. Oh my God, I'm like gonna cry. He knew it was her. And like, oh my God, I just can't with this book.
Oh, Selena. No, it
Because you know
literally
what?
was so perfect.
I'm thinking about the epilogue, but we'll get there.
Okay.
I can't. This dumb book.
No, it really was perfect. Levi. He looks at me calm, hopeful, so patient, my love. Levi, the door opens with a sudden noise. How are you feeling today, B? My doctor steps in with a nurse in tow. I literally wrote, not these mother effers interrupting. It's the end of the book. Let us have this. God damn it.
I know.
I was so, like this whole interrupting trope, I was over it.
Me too.
Like, enough.
Me too.
Let us have it. God, I was pissed. Okay. And then when she shows up with Felicity, and then she's just like, no, I'm done wasting time. I'm going to move in.
Yeah.
We're going to adopt this cat together because she's real. Whatever. I did feel like the ending felt a bit abrupt. Like I do wish that we got
Really?
a little more like sweet moments, but it was good.
Oh, I felt like it was good because then we got background of how like Levi was doing police investigations with Guy and how
Sure.
she fainted and how the doctors want to like look at her and how she's trying to tell them that it's like normal. I was actually confused why she went back to the space center. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, what are you doing? What do you mean you left 6 hours later? And then I pieced it together. I was like, oh, you're carrying a bag. She's in there. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But I did really love at the end, she was like, Levi is my home. Like that is exactly what she needed. And that is what sealed the deal for me. Because
Yeah.
I was like, she doesn't need a place, right? No. She's not her sister who needs to be traveling everywhere. But also she doesn't need a city, right? And she needs a person, but she needed to get over her fear of what happened with Tim. She finally accepts that
Thank God.
Levi has been her home and her stability all these years. And it's literally poetry. I swear.
No, it is poetry.
It's
the way
beautiful.
that things are connected. This book was brilliant. Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
still didn't have the same reaction to it as I did the Love Hypothesis.
Okay.
But it was really brilliant.
I agree, because I think the Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain are different in a sense that the Love Hypothesis, in my opinion, had more cute moments that made me
Sure.
like, squealy. Yeah. But Love on the Brain, the plot, the stakes, the motives were all so much more tangible and better, in my opinion, which is
Sure.
what made it so good.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Yeah. So basically the epilogue is not a time jump, but there is a 5K that they're doing for the fair graduate admissions, which is, again, poetry and so funny.
Cute. Yeah.
So funny that there's a fucking 5K for this movement that she started. And we get background on how she's now working at NASA. And how they're still working together, and she's now permanently in Houston.
And she has her office.
Yep. And people know her identity behind the Twitter account. And I think what gets me is that they got married a couple months after, I think. And it was on a whim because Levi proposed like nine times. And she kept saying no. And one of the mornings, she got Lily and Penny to go to the courthouse, and she drove. And she was in her lab coat, and she's like, I want to elope with you this morning, today, right now. Penny and Lily are in there. Let's go. And she's like, will you marry me, Levi? And he says yes. And it's literally the most cutest thing ever because,
and
again,
so perfectly them.
Exactly, because, again, you can argue that, B got over her wounds or whatever, but in a way it still comes up just differently. And so I feel like this was a different way that her wound was still showing up, that she didn't want to be left behind at the altar, with her and Tim's engagement and stuff. And so the way that she went about it to do just like, let's do it this morning, totally made sense for her. But also Levi is so in love with her that he was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
I know. And then they were talking about how if they should stay in Houston or if they should go to Norway and go see her sister and do this and this and that. And then Levi's like, well, the house we're in right now has a really great school district because they want to have kids, and that's why they decided to stay. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Like, when I read that, my heart melted. I was like,
no, that was too beautiful. It
really
was.
Really? Oh my God. Anyways, and then the chapter ends, or the epilogue ends, with Levi coming up to her and just like teasing her about the 5K and just, yeah. And that's basically all that I remember.
And that's the book.
That is the book.
So overall,
Wow.
I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
Not quite up to par with the Love Hypothesis.
Yeah.
Because the Love Hypothesis will always have a special place in my heart, and it's one of my favorites of all time.
Me too.
But this book was still really, really good.
This book was so good. Again, I am so impressed with Ali Hazelwood because I was very, very nervous, but this was so great. It was so good.
It really was.
Yeah.
Aww. Okay, Selena, so now that we're done discussing Love on the Brain, what is our next episode?
Yes. So next week, Theoni and I will be doing deal breakers. Similar to our hot takes episode, we will be doing deal breakers catered towards pop culture. We're going to keep it real loose right now. We'll figure out the details later, but I'm excited. I think I just like producing conversation with you, like just like very good debates and stuff.
Yes.
So I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.